Hi guys, Brain here, and welcome to another commentary video. Today I wanted to talk about DBD competition, because there's been a lot of DBD quote-unquote competition coming out lately. A lot of different ASIMs have been coming out with obviously the biggest and most prolific one has been VHS. Before that was Home Sweet Home, and now we have Evil Dead the game, which is out, which is people are, everybody around everywhere is like, this is gonna be the DBD killer, this is gonna make DBD go away, and how is DBD going to compete with this game? And I want to say, with my whole chest, that I'm glad that the game is doing well. I hope the game does do well. But I'm going to tell you why it's not going to be a DBD killer, and why all these other games that have come before it have equally not been DBD killers. And I think there's one thing that it comes down to that I feel like is a very, very huge, not problem, but just a way it almost in a weird way, despite being an ASIM, almost becomes a different kind of game that doesn't appeal to the same audience. And that thing being killing the killer. I think there's a lot of joy to be had with playing the antagonist, because in most games that we play in the modern age, we're playing the protagonist. It's not very often you get to play the bad guy in video games. In almost every video game you can think of on the market that's popular, you're playing the good guy trying to defeat the bad guy. You're never in this situation really where you get to play as the bad guy. And when you do, it's super exciting. And those games do very, very well often because it's different. It's a weird, different feeling. And also often the bad guys, the antagonists, are powerful. They obviously they have to be, or else the protagonist will not have a strong adversary, a strong hill to climb, in the story of the game would be boring. So playing the antagonist not only gives you a different role, but also gives you a different experience, as well as being powerful as well, and being more powerful than the average character. I think that's what makes Dead by Daylight a good and interesting asymmetrical horror game, because while you're not stronger than the survivors, you have a lot of power, and you do feel powerful as the killer. You do get to play as the bad guy, and it does feel good to have that very, very different style of gameplay and to feel like a threat, to feel scary. And I think that is where the other ASIMs that have tried to compete with DBD kind of go off the rails. It is because when they make the killer role more outwardly even, it takes away the charm that the role has. Like we've been talking about, playing as the antagonist, a lot of the fun that comes with playing as the antagonist is being a force to be reckoned with. And when you put the killer very poignantly in a position, or the killer role and poignantly in a position where they're very, very outwardly equal, and it's very obvious that they're equal, or in some cases, and some of you less, in some of these examples, less strong than the protagonist role, it kind of defeats the purpose of playing the role. The intrigue and the interest of the role comes from the fact that it plays A, very differently, and B, that you are a very, very powerful force to be reckoned with, even if you're not necessarily more powerful than the other role itself. I think one game that did this to a very, very good extent was Friday the 13th by Gun Media. Friday the 13th did have a way to kill Jason, but it was incredibly hard and required a lot of steps to set up. And there were also a lot of tiny ways you could hurt Jason by picking up certain weapons, and depending on what perks you brought, certain weapons did more hit stun and that sort of thing. But these ways did not kill Jason. You still had to do the super complicated method to do it, but like they still had that fight back kind of gameplay that these other ASIMs are capitalizing on, without it being so overpowering that nobody wanted to play Jason. And that's why I think in terms of a ASIM that I'm actually excited for, that I actually do want to play and actually have fun with, I'm actually excited for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game that's coming out later this year, because it is made by the same people who make Friday the 13th. It is being made by Gun Media. I think that'll be real good competition for DBD, because whether you like it or not, obviously a lot of my channel are killer mains, but I feel like for the DBD community, or the ASIM community in general, a lot of people kind of just don't really put a lot of put a lot of eggs in the basket, don't pay a lot of attention to the killer side of the game, because realistically that's 20% of the player base in a 4v1, right? Like just mathematically, like they are the minority of the players, but it takes two to tango. So if you keep minimizing the appeal of playing that role, you end up in a situation where you don't have a lot of people wanting to play the opposing role of the game. And I think that's where these games keep kind of having issue. And I want to end the video on this, because this is a big thing I hear every single time one of these other ASIMs comes out, is it's fun to play a survivor in this game, but playing as killer, not so much. I've heard that about VHS. That's how I feel about VHS. I heard that about Home Sweet Home Survive. Now I'm hearing about the Evil Dead game. It's fun to play as the survivor role, the antagonist role, not so much. I keep hearing that over and over and over and over again. And what you do when you put yourself in that situation of like, well, the survivor role is fun to do, but the killer role is not, is basically everybody, you know, people like me who really focus on the killer role, like playing the killer role, even if they do play both, we kind of don't feel like playing that game because that's what brought us to the table. That's what brought us to the dance. That's what we're interested in. This isn't like a side v side thing. This is just pure marketing. You're not marketing to an entire side of your game by cause you're like missing the point. This isn't a thing where it's like killer mains are being underrepresented in the press. It's not one of those situations. But like that is still a product. The killer role is still a product you got to sell to your players to keep your player base going, because it's an ASIM. It needs both sides to function. So you really need to advertise to that group as well to keep the game going. And I feel like with every single ASIM that's come out, it's been kind of like, well, it's all focused on the survivor experience, and then the killer role is kind of mostly just there as a role fulfiller, and isn't even if it's still fun, it's not as fun as playing the survivor side of the game. And I think like that's where a lot of us are on the DBD side of things, is like we like playing the killer role more than survivor. We think it's more fun than playing the survivor role, just because we like being in that very threatening antagonistic role and playing that for a group of people. We like doing that. And when you make that not what the role is about, that's going to push people away. That doesn't appeal to me. That advertisement doesn't hit me when I think, oh, well, I would have to play a survivor if I wanted to play aggressive. You know, that doesn't work for me. It just doesn't, you know. But yeah, the TLDR of this video is, I think where these ASIMs are going wrong is because of that. I think that's because killing the killer, as much as that's like a unique thing among ASIMs, it kind of does leave the question, why play the killer role in your new ASIM if it's just very pointedly being pointed out that it's just even weaker than the role in DBD, which is already not the strongest role in the game, so you've made it even weaker now. So like, what is the appeal to playing it if your whole gimmick is, hey guys, guess what? Survivor is even stronger than before now in this game. And it's like, well, okay, but like then what's the appeal for me to, as somebody who prefers killer, to play killer in your game? And so often there's kind of not an answer for that. There's kind of not they go, nah, we got some cool characters, I guess. Like that's essentially what it comes down to. So that's why I'm more excited for Texas Chainsaw Massacre's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game that's coming out later this year by Gun Media, and not so much these new ASIMs that are coming out, and why I'm not like covering them or going into them, because honestly, as somebody who prefers killer, I would like to play killer and not a weaker version of my role and suffer like I did in VHS and got burnt out. So yeah. Thank you so much for watching today with me, friends. Thank you for spending time with me, buds. I do upload daily, so we can do this again tomorrow. But if I don't see you in tomorrow's video, I will see you when I see you, friends. Goodbye.